Ova konferencija je nastavak naše saradnje sa RNIDS-om i, rekao bih, vrlo uspešne saradnje sa ovom fondacijom i mi se još jednom zahvaljujemo fondaciji na podršci Pravnom fakultetu u proučavanju tema koje su od interesa za razvoj interneta uopšte. Kada pogledam publiku danas, vidim dosta studenta i bivših studenta Pravnog fakulteta, naročito onih koji su završili ili će uskoro završiti master studije prava intelektualne svojine. Ja se posebno zahvaljujem njima što su došli i to me veoma raduje što je ova naša zajednica stručnjaka za pravo intelektualne svojine svake godine se sve više uvećava. Na ovoj konferenciji ćemo obraditi samo pojedine teme koje se uklapaju u ovu prilično široku temu intelektualna svojina i internet, tako da je ovo verovatno i samo jedan uvod u možda i seriju konferencija koja će se baviti intelektualnom svojinom i internetom. Da ne bih previše dužio ovaj uvod, ima mnogo zanimljivijih govora danas, da nastavimo sa svečanim otvaranjem i meni je veliko zadovoljstvo da sada reč mogu da dam najpre našim domaćinima, prvo dekanu Pravnog fakulteta, profesori Simi Avramoviću, a zatim i gospodinu Danku Јevтовиću, direktoru Fondacije Registar nacionalnog internet domena. Profesore Avramović, izvolite.
Hvala lepo. Zaista je zadovoljstvo biti domaćin jednog ovakvog skupa. Još je veće zadovoljstvo imati materijalni trag ovakve saradnje, a to je knjiga Intelektualna svojina i internet, koja je plod ove, zaista već mogu reći, relativno duge saradnje koju ostvaruje Pravni fakultet sa našom fondacijom Registar nacionalnog internet domena Srbije. Zadovoljstvo mi je, naravno, da pozdravim našeg, da kažemo, ko-organizatora i zaista najvažnijeg saradnika danas, pre svega gospodina Danka Јевтовиća, koji je direktor pomenute fondacije Registar nacionalnog internet domena Srbije, a posebno je zadovoljstvo da danas pozdravljamo među nama i gospodina Đonatana Koena, koji je praktično predstavnik ICANN-a, Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, i koji je sa nama. Nadamo se da ćete uživati pre svega u njegovom velikom iskustvu i upravo u svim znanjima koje nam može preneti. Zadovoljstvo nam je takođe što imamo među nama jednu damu sa sjajnom reputacijom, to je v.d. direktora Zavoda za intelektualnu svojinu Republike Srbiје, naša koleginica Nevenka Novaković. To je ekipa koja će biti sa vama danas. Ja ću morati da se uskoro udaljim zbog nekih drugih obaveza, ali ne mogu da ovu priliku ne iskoristim, da zaista istaknem koliko mi je drago što su se neki plodovi koji su se davno sejali po ovome fakultetu, a zašto je ponajviše zaslužan naš skromni profesor Slobodan Marković, koji je onako seo diskretno tamo u publiku, a kome bi zaista mesto bilo ovde, dakle da se ti plodovi evo sada pojavljuju u najlepšem obliku i da nam te plodove donose naše mlađe kolege, poput kolege Dušana Popovića, za koga malo pre rekoh da je upcoming star, a onda sam se odmah ispravio, he is already a star. Dakle, veze između našeg fakulteta i Registra nacionalnog internet domena su dosta trajne, duboke i, rekao bih, suštinske. Pravni fakultet je u stvari jedan od suosnivača ove organizacije, ove fondacije, i član je konferencije suosnivača. Pravni fakultet je pružao podršku registru i kada je od ICANN-a tražio uspostavljanje ćiriličnog naziva internet domena za Srbiju, a ono što je takođe ne baš nevažno je činjenica da su članovi Komisije za rešavanje sporova povodom registracije naziva internet domena profesori našeg fakulteta. Jedan od njih, Dušan Popović, je predsednik te komisije, potpredsednik je Marko Jovanović. Jednom rečju, već i na tom personalnom nivou se iskazuje vrlo tesan oblik saradnje, za koju smo naročito zahvalni gospodinu Danku Јевтовиću. Posvećenost Pravnog fakulteta izučavanju intelektualne svojine je duga. Čak se i ja sećam kad sam u prošlom veku, to slobodno mogu reći, upisao pravni fakultet, da smo mi imali tamo neki predmet koji se zvao autorsko pravo i to kada biste čitali, verovatno bi danas bilo pomalo smešno, jer je to bio neki potpuno rudimentarni oblik. Te su se stvari tako brzo razvijale da je, ja se plašim, mali broj ljudi koji mogu uopšte da prate sve promene koje se dešavaju u ovim oblastima. To je razlog zbog čega je Pravni fakultet u svome nastavnom planu i programu uveo intelektualnu svojinu kao obavezan predmet od pre nekoliko godina, obavezan predmet na osnovnim studijama i jedan, mogu reći, od najomiljenijih predmeta koje studenti zaista sa velikim zadovoljstvom pripremaju. Isto tako, ponovo su uspostavljene master studije prava intelektualne svojine, ne tako davno, pre 3 godine, i čini mi se da je to takođe jedan važan iskorak u sad produbljenim znanjima, a posebno smo ponosni na učešće našeg fakulteta u Tempus programu, u okviru koga su uspostavljene regionalne master studije prava intelektualne svojine. Sve to pokazuje koliko je naš pravni fakultet posvećen ovakvim modernim, važnim disciplinama i koliko prepoznajemo značaj intelektualne svojine, a pogotovo svih ovih tema vezanih za internet. Podsjetiću, jer ja vidim ovde takođe neka lica koja su pre 5-6 godina možda slušala kurs profesora Toma Keniga sa Northwestern Univerziteta, koji je bio Fulbrightovac na našem fakultetu, to je bio cyber crime, i tako da imamo jedan zaista fini kontinuitet tih aktivnosti koje se na ovome fakultetu odvijaju kada je u pitanju intelektualna svojina i svi njeni pravni derivati vezani čak i za oblast krivičnog prava. Najzad ne mogu da ne pomenem naše veliko zadovoljstvo što smo uspostavili i formalnu saradnju sa Zavodom za intelektualnu svojinu. Pre nepunih možda 2 meseca smo potpisali jedan sporazum sa v.d. direktorkom Zavoda i mi već imamo prve rezultate. Naši studenti odlaze na praksu u Zavod i nadamo se da će to biti od obostranog interesa, pre svega za same studente, tamo će mnogo toga moći da nauče, ali svakako i za Zavod, ne zbog toga što će dobiti besplatnu radnu snagu, nego zbog toga što će zaista Zavod u njima sigurno prepoznati neke svoje buduće male zvezde i zvezdice. Želim vam svima da se ovde osjećate prijatno, da uživate i da zaista svoja znanja, svoje interesovanje proširujete, imaćete priliku da budete zaista sa ljudima koji su u ovim sektorima vodeće ličnosti u našoj zemlji, tako da još jednom iskazujem zadovoljstvo Pravnog fakulteta što smo domaćini ovoga skupa. Hvala vam lepo.
Hvala vam. Reč ima naš drugi domaćin, gospodin Danko Јевтовиć, direktor РНИДС-a.
Hvala. Posle ovakvog uvoda, ja ne znam šta bih baš rekao, zato što se malo osjećam onako previše počestvovane ovim lepim rečima. Prvo bih se zahvalio dekanu profesoru Simi Avramoviću vezano za sve ovo što je fakultet učinio za Registar kroz od osnivanja, kroz to što je to osnivač pa sve do ove konferencije sada. Mi smo jedna neobična organizacija srpske uslove, mi smo fondacija koja je nedržavna, stručna organizacija koja upravlja .rs i .srb nacionalnim domenima. I kao takvi mi radimo jedan posao koji je od važnog interesa za internet u Srbiji, ali smo na neki način u svojoj strukturi, baš kao jedna nedržavna organizacija, značajni, kao jedan izuzetak praktično u kome vidimo način na koji funkcioniše internet. Tema ove današnje konferencije je intelektualna svojina i internet i upravo te specifičnosti interneta su nešto čime vidim i pravna struka se prosto sve više bavi i mi kao neko ko dolazi iz internet organizacija mislim da smo očigledno zanimljivi za saradnju fakultetu i zato vam se i zahvaljujem. Drugo, hteo bih da se zahvalim i gospodinu Koenu koji je došao iz Amerike, iz ICANN-a, kao delegat ICANN-a, organizacija koja upravlja internet domenima, nazivima i adresama na globalnom nivou i kao takav nam predstavlja značajnu podršku uopšte procesu internet upravljanja u Srbiji. i zahvaljujem se Dušanu Popoviću koji je osmislio sve ovo, napravio ovaj zbornik i organizovao današnju konferenciju. Mi smo praktično neko ko je, pomogao je izdavanje ovoga i pomogao organizaciju konferencije, ali čini nam se da je najveći deo posla na drugoj strani. RNIDS, odnosno Registar nacionalnog internet domena Srbije, je organizacija koja je deo tehničke infrastrukture interneta. Mi upravljamo sistemom naziva domena za CCTLD-eve, odnosno domene najvišeg nivoa dodeljene teritoriji Srbije, .rs i .srb, ali kao fondacija mi koristimo prihode od registracije domena da radimo neke stvari koje su u zajedničkom interesu, konkretno u cilju razvoja interneta u Srbiji. Mi ulažemo u razvoj interneta, ulažemo u stvaranje kvalitetnog sadržaja na internetu, ulažemo u edukaciju i evo danas ovo što radimo je jedan od načina kako to radimo. Mi smo nastali iz internet zajednice u Srbiji, uz podršku organizacije kao što je Pravni fakultet i drugih organizacija važnih za internet zajednicu i uz podršku Republike Srbiје i mi zastupamo multi-stakeholder model upravljanja, koja je još jedna od neobičnih stvari koja dolazi u internetu, gde svi stakeholderi koji su zainteresovani za neki proces, u ovom slučaju upravljanje internetom i upravljanje tehničkom infrastrukturom, imaju neki način i pravo da kažu kako to treba da se radi. RNIDS kao internet organizacija primenjuje alternativni način rešavanja sporova u cilju zaštite registranata naziva domena i u cilju zaštite vlasnika intelektualne svojine. I RNIDS zajedno sa Privrednom komorom Srbije donosi pravilnik o postupku rešavanja sporova podom registracije nacionalnih internet domena, to je ono što je i profesor pomenuo, i Komisija za rešavanje ovih sporova je Privrednoj komori Srbije, ali većina stručnjaka u toj komisiji su upravo sa ovog fakulteta. RNIDS kao organizacija je izuzetno transparentna i otvorena organizacija. Već smo rekli da je Pravni fakultet jedan od suosnivača, ali svako domaće pravno lice ili preduzetnik može biti suosnivač RNIDS-a i na taj način ostvariti, pokajaviti se kao aktivni učesnik internet upravljanja u Srbiji i ostvariti uticaj na ono što RNIDS kao organizacija radi. Znači, ja praktično pozivam i vas kao pravne stručnjake da podstaknete organizacije da se učlane, da postanu suosnivači RNIDS-a za 100 evra godišnje, što nije neki iznos, ali da aktivno učestvuju u upravljanju internetom i nacionalnim domenima u Srbiji. Sa druge strane, za studente i za one koji nisu organizacije ili nemaju mogućnosti da odvoje to, pozivam vas da pratite naše aktivnosti na društvenim mrežama, Facebook profilu, Twitter profilu, na našem sajtu www.rnids.rs i da praktično se uključite u naše aktivnosti i da taj način dati podršku ono što radimo, ali još više da učestvujete i utičete na ceo taj proces. Hvala.
Hvala vam, gospodine Јевтовиću, i nakon što su nam se obratili domaćini ovog skupa, obratit će nam se i dva naša počasna gosta. Najpre, vršilac dužnosti direktora Zavoda za intelektualnu svojinu Republike Srbiјe, gospođa Nevenka Novaković, i ja vam se još jednom zahvaljujem na podršci ne samo ovome skupu, nego i na našoj generalnoj saradnji, dakle saradnji između naše dve institucije. Izvolite.
Hvala, poštovani profesore Avramoviću, gospodine Јевтовиću, poštovani gospodine Koen. Eto, prvo što ću sutra ujutru raditi, daću nalog da Zavod za intelektualnu svojinu postane član tog domena koji je, sećam se dobro, nekad davno zaljuljan u Ministarstvu nauke. I eto, to je jedan od onih plodova koje smo posadili dobrim radom i dobrim namerama. Velika mi je čast i zadovoljstvo da vas pozdravim u ime Zavoda za intelektualnu svojinu, sada kada sam kao i profesor Avramović u prošlom veku završila Pravni fakultet i da mi je neko pre 30 i nekoliko godina rekao da ću moći i ja da budem gost u fakultetu koji nam je ovoliko svima dao i da doprinesem svima vama. U tom smislu vas pozivam da ostvarite kontakt sa Zavodom za intelektualnu svojinu, običnim pozivom našem edukativno-informativnom centru i spremni smo na sve vrste pomoći, saradnje, seminara, konferencija za koji god imate potrebu. Uticaj interneta na društva, naravno, svima vam je vrlo dobro poznat i gotovo da taj uticaj nema presedan u ljudskoj istoriji, do mere da to ne bi bilo moderno društvo. Geografski pojmovi bi bez interneta i dalje predstavljali nedokučive tačke na mapi sveta. Internet danas nalikuje elektronskom super autoputu u čijim trakama svakog trenutka putuju stotine miliona informacija sa kraja planete na drugi kraj. Danas internetom putuju informacije svih vrsta i mnogi od vas najverovatnije i vaš posao redovan obavlja na mreži. S druge strane, taj globalni karakter interneta i njegova tehnička priroda doveli su do masovnog kršenja prava intelektualne svojine i tako su relativizovali vrednost nekih fundamentalnih principa na kojima intelektualna svojina već vekovima počiva. Jedan od tih postulata je i onaj koji kaže da se bez dozvole autora ne smeju kopirati autorska dela. U trenutku dok izgovaram ove reči na internetu se slobodno, recimo, dakle, i nelegalno i bez sankcije, kopiraju milioni autorskih dela i drugih predmeta zaštite. Svakog minuta na YouTube se uploaduje 300 sati videomaterijala, od čega je dobar deo zaštićen normama intelektualne svojine. 98,8% materijala koji se razmenjuju putem takozvanih peer-to-peer mreža je nelegalno, a čak 70% internet korisnika kažu da ne vide ništa loše u slobodnom, čitaj nelegalnom, preuzimanju fajlova sa interneta. To je ono o čemu moramo da razmišljamo ne samo u danima, nego sigurno i u godinama koje dolaze. Naše je da se borimo da se ta intelektualna svojina na internetu zaštiti i da ne dopustimo da nas ove brojke obeshrabre. Dakle, ništa ne sme da relativizuje ideju koja je utkana u suštinu intelektualne svojine, a to je ideja da oni koji stvaraju ta dela, naučnici, umetnici i svi drugi, mogu da žive od svog rada. Nije zato preterano reći da je zaštita intelektualne svojine i civilizacijsko pitanje. Republika Srbija neguje i razvija ideju intelektualne svojine već više od 120 godina. Prvi propisi iz ove oblasti su doneti još u Kraljevini Srbiji krajem 19. veka. Srbija je osnivač Pariske unije i potpisnica svih značajnih međunarodnih ugovora iz ove oblasti. Zavod za intelektualnu svojinu u ovoj godini svečano obeležava 95 godina postojanja nacionalne organizacije za intelektualnu svojinu. Po odazivu koji imamo iz specijalizovanih međunarodnih organizacija, a iz zavoda u regionu, možemo već sada da zaključimo da smo zavod koji uživa veliki ugled. Mi smo ovde da bi podržali i ovaj skup, ali i mnogo šire organizatori i domaćine i oni koji malo duže me poznaju znaju da to nije samo reč. Pored ovoga što je gospodin Avramović i profesor Popović što su pomenuli, mi smo spremni na druge načine da podržimo ne samo objavljivanje ovog zbornika Intelektualna svojina i internet, već da se i na neposredniji način uključimo u obuku pravnika da bi lakše razumeli ove izuzetne kompleksne pravne probleme. Značaj ove konferencije pre svega što će da ukaže da koliko veliki broj autorskog prava i prava žiga se dešavaju na internetu. Stoga je i za naše pravnike jako važno da znamo kakva je praksa Evropskog suda pravde, te da saznamo za postojanje, ali i za značaj rada domaće nacionalne komisije za rešavanje sporova povodom registracije naziva nacionalnih internih dometa. Ta komisija uspešno doprinosi već sada sankcionisanju sajber skvotera koji registruju naziv domena koji je istovetan ili sličan predmetu tuđeg žiga. Biće mi veliko zadovoljstvo da u ovom izuzetnom društvu danas čujem živu reč o pitanjima koja zbornik obrađuje i koja tretiraju intelektualnu svojinu na internetu. Srdačno vas sve pozdravljam i u ime svih zaposlenih u Zavodu za intelektualnu svojinu. Hvala vam.
Zahvaljujem se našoj dragoj gošći i sada ćemo preći na jedini deo konferencije koji se odvija na engleskom jeziku. Ja se nadam da ste shvatili dobro naš program i da oni kojima je potreban prevod su na vreme za registracionim stolom preuzeli slušalice i čini mi se podesili kanal 4. Ali rekao bih da je malo onih kojima će prevod zapravo biti potreban zbog toga što po pravilu oni koji se bave pravom intelektualne svojine i internetom govore engleski. As I was just explaining, we are now switching to the English-speaking part of the conference. This will be a rather short part of the conference, let's say half an hour. And this is the only part of the conference that our viewers on the internet will be able to follow, since we are only streaming the original language of the speaker and not the simultaneous translation due to some technical issues. So I would like to welcome this time in English our viewers, especially those from the ICANN. I know that there are some ICANN people watching us at this moment, and we also publicize this conference on the ICANN Fellowship Facebook page and LinkedIn and other social media. It is my pleasure to welcome on behalf of the University of Belgrade and Serbian Internet Domain Registry our guest of honor, Mr. Џонатана Коена, who is a senior partner at Shapiro Cohen law firm in Ottawa in Canada. We keep on saying that we have a guest from America since we have a tendency to forget that Northern America consists not only from the United States but also from Canada. So our guest is from Canada, although the seat of the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers is in Los Angeles. Mr. Coena has practiced exclusively in the field of intellectual property, especially as a trademark attorney and a specialist for domain names and the Internet. Mr. Coena is a member of the Intellectual Property constituency. I would like to underline this part of his CV. I am a member of the Intellectual Property constituency. Some of you will hopefully become members, but Mr. Coena is actually the founder of the Intellectual Property constituency within ICANN. So he is the main defender of the interest of the IP community within the ICANN system. Mr. Coena has spoken at many international conferences and written extensively on trademark and domain name issues for more than 30 years. Apart from founding the Intellectual Property constituency, he was the first president of the IPC. He also participated in drafting the final version of the UDRP, the Uniform Domain Name Resolution Policy, which remained for years the main text for dispute, the source for dispute resolution in the field of domain names and trademarks. He was elected and served on the board of directors of the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers and of CIRA, the Canadian Domain Name Registry. He has lectured at Canadian government meetings, testified before the US Congressional Committee, and on other occasions in other significant institutions in the United States, Canada, and elsewhere in the world. So it is my great honor to welcome you once again, and I give you the floor, Mr. Coena.
Do we have the...
Yes.
Taking my jacket off before I die of the heat.
So, this one?
It's whatever says PowerPoint. Yeah. How do we get it up on the screen?
The screen. You use the...
Okay. Is it on the screen?
It is. Just use the...
No, I mean, oh, I see. But I mean, on the screen behind me. Is it going to be on that screen or not?
It should be on that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Here it is.
Okay. Pardon me. Thank you, first of all, Professor and Popovich and the Dean, for your kind words. I've learned as I get older that the longer your resume is, all it means is you're old. It's a pleasure for me and an honor to be asked to participate in this. I think these kinds of meetings are really important. I think notwithstanding the changes that have happened in the last 15 years, it's important to remember it really is only about 15 or 20 years that the internet has had this impact. Even in the last 10 years, the changes since smartphones came in and things like Twitter and other social media have had a profound effect. It's hard to realize how recent they are. Most of you are young enough that you can't really remember much of a world without them. I have, don't even ask, but I have an 11-year-old daughter, and she doesn't understand a world without these things. So what I'm here to do today, believe it or not, I discussed this with Professor Popovich. I'm going to try and, rather than get into the issues, which I think you will have a good chance to do later with many of your speakers, I thought I'd try and give you some background and some context for the discussions, which I think is useful. Also, when you look at the PowerPoint presentation, there are going to be some links. And I'm going to ask Professor Popovich to make available my PowerPoint notes for anybody here who wants them, so that you can look at them at your leisure instead of listening to somebody who speaks English speaking too quickly. You can take your time and connect. For those of you who want to know more about the details, I'll give you links to where you can find them. I think it would take me far too long if I got into that kind of thing, and it's not the right subject. These pictures are very important. They're Ottawa. They have no importance at all. I just thought I'd put up something colorful to start with. You can see winter. That's mostly what Canada has, is 2 seasons. One season is winter, the other season is road repair. I like that screen because it has my name on it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do a couple of things as quickly as I can without racing. I'm going to try and give you a bit of an overview about who the heck ICANN is and what it is. Not just what it is, I know most of you would know, but a little more than that. What the IPC is, the IRT. Any of you know what the IRT is? You raise hands? Okay, that many. I'll try and explain what that is, and then talk a little bit about new GTLDs and the rights protection mechanisms, a couple of other issues, and then encourage you to join the IPC. Okay, so ICANN, as you know, is located in Los Angeles. It was created by the Secretary of Commerce of the United States to manage the domain name system. It has this community-based, census-driven, bottom-up approach to policy. It's unique. It is the first time that a really important international resource has been allowed to be managed by a private company rather than by a consortium of governments or the United Nations. There is still tremendous political tension on that subject. Organizations like the ITU, the International Telecommunications Union, continues to lobby the United Nations for a greater stake in what goes on. Many of the European Union countries are trying to assert more control through the Government Advisory Committee, and otherwise try and seek a much stronger voice in what goes on in controlling the internet. I think a lot of us at ICANN are resisting that to the last breath, because it's like the World Trade Organization. If you want to participate in the World Trade Organization, it's really very easy as a private citizen. You go to where their meeting is, you stand behind the barbed wire, and you throw tomatoes at the people who are coming in, because that's as close as you're going to get to participation. With ICANN, anybody in this room can join. Anybody in this room can get to the board of directors. I did. I mean, who am I? I'm nobody special. I mean, it's nice to have people flatter me now with what I've accomplished, and I'm very pleased to have had the chance. But in fact, all I did was join and roll my sleeves up and work. And by doing so, my peers honored me with these elections and blah, 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 blah. So I encourage all of you to consider this. This is a unique opportunity to get involved and make a difference. You can, one individual from anywhere. There are members from all over the world. So I said this to many people, just do it. You can participate online and you can go to the meetings. Now the cost of these things is high. And many people come from countries where I think Americans and North Americans tend to forget that there are relative differences of wealth. And there's what may be a trivial amount of money in the United States may be a very significant amount in an African country or even in some Eastern European countries. There are means to deal with that. There are scholarships, there's financial support, there are all kinds of ways that people can get access to these meetings. And what you get out of it is not just the information at the meetings. You get a network of people who know what they're doing in this field around the world. And I can tell you as a lawyer, to people who either are or going to be lawyers, that's as important as anything else. You can teach a monkey the law. You can go online and learn what the law is. It's what you do with it. It's how you get what your client wants. That's what they pay you for. They don't pay you for writing them a book about the law. They can buy a book. They pay you for getting them what they want. And how you get it doesn't matter. Sometimes, yes, you use very clever thinking in the law. But other times, just knowing the right people to get it done like that is going to serve you in far better stead. Anyway, enough of an ad about that. Moving right along. If I can figure this out. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So how does it work? You can see where the IPC is. The center is the board of directors. There are a series of advisors. There are supporting organizations. There are technical groups. There are government groups. There's the ombudsman. You've got the civil service, which is the ICANN staff. The big red dot, which when I started on the board with numbered 4 people, and now is well over 100. To put it in perspective, it's a true civil service with all that goes with that. The IPC, as you can see, is one of the constituency in the GNSO, which is the policy arm of ICANN. It meets in council. Each constituency contributes its thinking on the various issues. They try and come to agreement. They almost never can. Then it goes up to the board, and the board generally decides for them, which results in a lot of criticism. But it is a multi-stakeholder model, and it is that model which is unique in the world, and which we're fighting to preserve while it's being, I don't want to use attacked, but questioned, let us say, by many other people. The IPC. Okay, so what happened was when ICANN first came into existence in 1999, or actually in 98, but in 99 when the work of ICANN began, the first thing it had to do was create the GNSO, the policy arm. And the board then, which was an appointed board of about 8 people, challenged the community that attended the first organizing meeting in Singapore in the spring of '99 to self-organize interest groups or constituencies. I just happened to be there and decided to, I don't know what I was thinking, but I decided to do it for intellectual property. And that resulted in the creation of the IPC, and of course other people created other constituencies and they came together. The IPC represents trademarks and copyright interests online. An individual can join, national organizations, such as whatever your national IP organization is in Canada, TIPIC, you know, in the United States, I guess it would be the, you know, U.S. Trademark Association, INTA, and national and international organizations, such as AIPPI, FICP, and others like that, INTA, the ones that we all know and love. In the IPC, one of the challenges was to make sure that it couldn't be captured. There's a lot of people said, well, everybody should have one person, one vote. And I said, that's cool, except you got 1 billion Chinese. You know, if they decide to line up and register 1 million people, the next thing you know, the entire thing will be Chinese. And it's not that I'm against Chinese, not at all. They're all welcome to join and participate. But you don't want one particular country or one particular group or one particular ideology to dominate. And that includes America. You know, there's a very vibrant international presence in the IPC and some pretty round criticism occasionally of the United States representations, because they tend to forget that theirs isn't the only constitution, nor is theirs the only version of democracy. Now, I'm a great fan of the United States, and my brother is American, and my son lives in the States, and blah, 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 but that doesn't mean that I can't determine or look at their participation with the eye of someone who's not American, because I can. And it's welcomed by the Americans. This is not a hostile environment. It's a very cooperative environment, and everybody's very open and dedicated to keeping it democratic and representing ideas from around the world. But if you guys aren't there, your ideas aren't represented. That's up to you. So I say, you know, come. The voting is structured, obviously, with different levels of voting for different organizations. International organizations, which may represent thousands and thousands of members, has the greatest number of votes, and that keeps it from being captured. Any trademark person can get on the board, in theory. So far, I'm the only one who's done it. I don't know why me, but it was me. Okay, let me see. The IPC, what's it do? Okay, well, first of all, we meet and discuss intellectual property and trademark issues of all kinds. The next thing we do is we serve on the GNSO Council. We have 2 seats, and we're there at the council to promote IP interests, to give our point of view, to argue for it, to get on working groups, to initiate policy development processes, and to generally make sure that the intellectual property concerns are communicated to the broad ICANN community whenever it's considering a new initiative, because many times they don't. I know at the board level, I had a great deal of trouble interesting technical people about trademarks because they couldn't give a damn about them. To them, it was just an irritation. Same with registrars. It's just a cost for them. It's just a pain for them to have to deal with it. Well, I get that, but it's not a pain, it's important. And you have to have somebody there who says it, and says it clearly and unemotionally, or it's not going to get hurt. Yelling and screaming doesn't work. IPC membership. Okay, so there you go. Corporations, $500. Individuals, $100 a year. National or local, $1,000. International, $1,500. Important, funding may approve funding for members to attend meetings. I said all this before, but it's important. And remember, any one of you could apply for funding. Any one of you could apply for a reduction in the membership. I still think that they would be open to that. I mean, if you can show that relative to North American incomes, your income is a small fraction of it, then $100 is a lot of money. You know, if you're making $200,000 a year, $100 is nothing. You know, if you're making, I don't know, $5,000 a year, $100 is a lot of money. I don't know what any of you make, and I don't know. But I know from speaking to some of the African colleagues that $100 is a big amount of money for them. They can't afford it. And the idea is not to exclude people by money, just trying to help defray the costs. So don't let the prices discourage you, speak up. All right, I don't know, how am I doing for time, Dushan?
Great.
10 more minutes.
10 more minutes? Okay, well, that's easy. You tell me how long, that's how long I can talk. Oh, wrong one. Okay, what did I do? I did something wrong. How about next? There we go. You have to understand, I may know all about internet governance, but when it comes to the actual mechanics, I'm an idiot. You know? My daughter's always, you know, Daddy, let me do that. But in any event, new GTLDs. Okay, so what's this about? When the board came into existence, part of its mandate was to increase competition and broaden the internet space. Originally, you remember there were only a handful of TLDs, and during my time on the board, we added a few and came to 22 from the original ComNet.org, Mill, Edu. You know, there weren't very many, I can't remember how many, there might have been 8 or 9. We added a bunch. There was a raging debate in the community about whether there was a need for new top-level domains. Many people felt it was just a money grab by people who, you know, in the registry and registrar business, who would profit tremendously if there were more top-level domains. Many of them realized that brand owners would feel obliged to buy defensive domains. For instance, Microsoft has over 40,000 defensive domains. Time Warner is similar. You get all these companies that are buying tens of thousands. And this is, you know, it starts to add up even for big companies. You're managing a stable of 60 or 70,000 that you don't want and don't need somebody to protect against, you know, cyber piracy. That's pretty serious. So, nonetheless, after this debate, you know, it was decided to open it up without restriction to whoever wanted to apply for $185,000. Not a bad gig if you can get it. They had almost 2,000 new applications. One of the things that they had to do before they went live was, it took about 5 or 6 years of discussion to decide, you know, what the terms would be, what the rules would be, et cetera, et cetera. Now there are more than 400 new ones have been introduced, and they're coming online regularly now, including a number of IDNs, which are the internationalized ones in Cyrillic or Arabic or you know, Chinese or Hebrew or whatever is non-Latin terms. These are considered important politically. Whether or not they'll actually be successful in what is largely a Latin-based international commerce world, time will tell. I can't answer that. During the discussion, the IPC became very concerned that there was already so much cybercrime and misuse of brand names with 22 top-level domains. What was going to happen with 2,000? And don't forget, you've got IPv6 coming online with 50 trillion, which is a number so big that it's more than the atoms in the universe. That's how big that is. It's beyond comprehension. The potential for this was astronomical. So they decided, I think there was a meeting when I was at it with the then president, Christina Rosette, and I suggested to her that we seek permission of the board to set up a group to examine the problem and to look and see if there were some new rights protection mechanisms that we could develop that could apply to the new top-level domains in addition to the existing UDRP, which now is the only real rights protection mechanism available in the domain name world with the then existing top-level domains. As a consequence, the IRT was formed. What happened is they went out and they found a group of international, and it is pretty international, experts who not only know trademark law, who not only know domain name law, but are also well connected within and knowledgeable about ICANN, from which all matters emanate. As each one of you knows, you're probably in a contractual relationship with ICANN, whether you know it or not. Every time you get a domain name through a registrar, that registrar has been approved by ICANN, and you're a party to the agreement. You've already torn to its rules. This group was, I have to tell you, an amazing group. Most of us didn't know each other. We were given, I think, 8 weeks and a very limited budget. They paid for 2 face-to-face meetings, one in Washington, D.C., and the other in San Francisco. And we were told to come up with a blank piece of paper, rights protection mechanisms. Well, that was a challenge. I insisted, and I'm glad we did, that amongst these experts was a member of the non-commercial constituency, the registry constituency, and the registrar constituency. So first of all, our results wouldn't be dismissed as a bunch of IP people in an ivory tower not paying attention to anything else or anybody else's concerns. And also because we felt that we get some really valuable input that would allow us to make sure that what we recommended had already been looked at and criticized and commented upon by other constituents who have very different points of view about it. A lot of different ideas were put forth. You know, we talked about the possibility of an exclusionary list for well-known marks or famous marks. We talked about half a dozen other possible rights protection mechanisms, but we realized with the time and budget we had, we couldn't do it. So we focused on the 3 that were passed and the list, the exclusionary list of famous marks, knowing that we would give up on that. Because even in the intellectual property community, nobody can decide what a well-known mark is. It's kind of, if you see one, you know it. Every client thinks their mark is well-known, you know, and what happens if you decide if you're registered in 50 countries and you're registered in 49? I mean, it opens up a can of worms that's not going to get solved. So what we came up with in the time we had is we broke down into separate working groups, one on TMCH, one in URS, one in PDDRP, and we put together with that each group the rules and the ideas, and then we got together and presented it to the entire group of us for comment and criticism. And amazingly, in 8 weeks, we put together, which was pretty much accepted in the form that appears today. The Trademark Clearinghouse, as you know, really the purpose of it was to give access to Sunrise. That as these new top-level domains came online, if you had an existing trademark registration and registered in the TMCH, you'd automatically be able to get into the Sunrise period of new GTIDLDs and protect your mark in that top-level domain if you so choose. You see there's a link there, and if you connect it, you can get the exact rules. The URS, the purpose of it was effectively to provide an interlocutory injunction, if you understand the term, in the takedown procedure of offending marks. The UDRP has worked extremely well, but it still can take 3 months, 6 months, even a year in some cases, and in some situations where it's abundantly clear that the person has no rights, it can be a real penalty to the trademark owner to have to wait even that amount of time. So this was set up with a view to allowing rapid takedown under very special circumstances, and there are penalties built into it for abuse of the system by brand owners. So you won't just have people taking a whack at it to see if they can get it when they don't really deserve it. One of the other things before I leave you, Ars, is that you can get a determination that when the offending domain name is taken down, rather than just going back into the pool, it can be transferred to the complainant. So you can't get another person coming along and doing the same thing, which has happened. Post-delegation dispute resolution, this was really, the idea was there was real concern that some of the registrars, some of the registries were directly or indirectly participating in cybercrime or cyber piracy. They were setting up rules that allowed or even contributed to these kinds of practices. And there was really no punishment for them because the ability of ICANN to monitor the marketplace for too much about it was very limited. And I think we felt it was very important that if you could establish that a registry was participating or actively permitting or promoting, that they should be punished as much as losing their registry. And so that was the reason for focusing on that one. And I think it's a very important rights protection mechanism. The question is, what's the value of these? Well, I have to tell you, I don't know. I mean, they're too new, and there are, the new GTLDs haven't been up long enough, nor have they been used enough to make that kind of determination. But it is part of ICANN's mandate to monitor carefully the new GTLDs and all aspects of them, including the RPMs. And in 3 or 4 or 5 years, we will probably get a review and get some sense of whether they've been useful or not, or whether other ones are needed. Okay, I'm going quickly now.
Yep, 1-2 minutes.
Okay, that's funny. Am I going too fast? I hope so. No? Oh, you mean you're understanding me? Oh, damn. Okay. One of the things that are coming up is a full review of the UDRP. Careful. That is what's being proposed by registries and registrars and non-commercial. All of them hate the UDRP. This is going to be another kick at the can. So if you want to get a good time to get involved in things and help out, this is a good time. One of the other initiatives is to see if we can find a way to retroactively make the new rights protection mechanisms also apply to the legacy top-level domains, the original ones, com.org, etc. That's a tough sell, but the discussions are ongoing. Again, participants are needed and are welcome. And there are a whole raft of other initiatives either brought by the IPC or by other constituencies, always requiring input and volunteers. And right now, as most organizations, you get 10 or 12 people, all the same people, always volunteering, and we're getting burnout. We need new people to get in there and roll up their sleeves and start working. And you'll meet people quickly. It's a very welcoming group. It's not a clique. It doesn't take very long to catch up and figure it out. I'm going to, as I say, that was a joke. I had a fight with Dushan about whether it's funny. I'll let you read it. I thought people who were married would get it. Anyway, I'm going to get a copy of this, as I say to anybody who wants it. If you're having trouble sleeping, I recommend it. And you can read it at your leisure, go to the links, and you can now go back to Serbian. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. We are still continuing in English since we have very little time to take 2 or 3 questions for Mr. Cohen. And in the meantime, I would like to remind those who are watching this in live streaming that they can send by email their questions, the email address is posted on the website of the Serbian Domain Name Registry and the law faculty. I don't know it by heart, but check the website. And as far as I've seen, for the moment, there are no questions sent by email. That means that some of you will have a question. So please just use your microphone. You can ask your question in English or in Serbian. If it's in Serbian, it will be translated immediately. Yes, just please use the microphone.
I have a company registered in Canada with a global name protection. However, in Europe, there is a domain with that name already used by a legal company. Is there any infringement of my rights?
Sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question.
Sure.
I apologize. You have something registered?
I have registered a company in Canada.
Okay, so it's a company name?
It's a company name that has a global protection. And I
What
want
does
to-
that mean, it has a global protection?
For the name. So it means that no one globally other than myself can use that name for the name of the company,
How did you get that global protection?
just by applying.
With whom?
With the Ontario government body that is responsible
Okay, so
for
you have
business
protection.
registration.
It's only in
Okay.
Canada, though. They may call it global, but the Ontario government has no jurisdiction to grant you protection outside of Ontario or Canada.
What I paid, if I can be specific, what I paid actually for the global protection of the name. And then I wanted to use that name for the name of the internet site. So there is some consistency in the company that can be easily recognized on the internet. But then I found there is a legal company with the same name registered in European Union.
Yes.
So my question is, when in North America you get a global name protection for your company, what global means? Does it Canada, North America, or does it include truly global?
I've never heard the term, in
Okay.
fairness.
Okay.
And I can tell you right now, no government organization in Canada, or from my knowledge, in any
Yeah.
other country,
Yes.
can grant protection outside of its jurisdiction. So if you register a corporate name in Ontario, it would be good in Ontario.
Yeah.
If you get a federal one, it's good across the country. But outside the country, it will have no rights whatsoever
Okay.
unless you establish them by use or registration in that country.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Any other questions? Just please switch off the microphone.
Yeah. I have one more question, if I'm not taking anybody's time. In terms of, say, I'm in internet sales and marketing. So I wanted to get some flavor on the type of mapping of the internet space in a specific country or region in order to start promoting my services. How I can get that information? How is internet space in, say, Hungary or Austria or Canada or States mapped? So that when I'm doing marketing and online sales and marketing, so I have a better perception and quicker, faster access to the sites that are important for me. Where do I get that either statistics or information so that it can help me do my job?
When you know, you'll tell me.
Okay.
I think it's a good question, but it's a business-focused question. You could certainly try CIRA and its monitoring of the use of the internet, at least in the .ca space. I'm not sure whether there's anybody else who actually keeps track of what you're most interested in. There's a couple of organizations. One is the, it's an international online marketing association, and they have meetings around the world. It was originally based in Sweden, in Stockholm, and I used to speak at it, and they are all advertisers,
Yes.
online advertisers, who get together and talk about the issues you're talking about and many others.
Right.
And I would recommend that you find one of those organizations. They're more likely to have the kind of specific information that you're looking for than generally you're going to find from governments or others who won't track it for those reasons.
Okay, thank you. And the final question, because we're quite late with the program. So I would like to ask you one final question, and I will kindly ask you for a brief answer. Since you were one of the drafters of the UDRP, you mentioned it's too early to assess the success of the URS, but can you subjectively assess the success of the UDRP?
Well, I have to tell you and I'll keep this brief, when we looked at the UDRP originally, which was drafted by WIPO and then amended by many people, but certainly a group of people that I worked with on the IPC at the request of the board of directors, we didn't think it was going to work. The consensus was that American lawyers were so committed to suing everybody that they wouldn't give up that right in favor of the UDRP. But we were dead wrong. I mean, it really has been a profound success. And if you look at it, it's even been a success in protecting people from abuse of the system. Now, have there been bad decisions? Yes. But I'll tell you what, when you have a system that has 15,000 decisions and all you can point at is 10 or 12 that are bad, I mean, I'd like you to go to any country in the world and pull up 10,000 legal decisions and tell me you're only going to find 12 bad ones. I mean, I don't know about your country, but I can find a lot more than that at home. And there's some real stinkers. So I think it's been an amazing success.
Thank you. I would agree on this. And thank you once again for taking your time to come visit Serbia and to address this conference. I would like just to underline once again that this conference is supported by the ICANN, as you understood, and Mr. Coena right here, thanks to the crop funding of the ICANN, and I'm looking forward to continuing this cooperation. So since we are a bit behind with the program, predlažem da napravimo pauzu samo 10 minuta i da nastavimo dalje na srpskom jeziku. Hvala vam.